Acadia National Park has a really cool collection of trails called Iron Rung Trails, and I haven't really found these in any other national park. This is kind of an Acadia thing, but they are so exciting, so much fun. They just add an extra dose of adventure into your trip. And so today I want to share 6 tips for hiking the Beehive Trail in Acadia National Park. This is Acadia's most popular and most well-known Iron Rung Trail. My name is Ash. I'm a former park ranger and the founder of Dirt in My Shoes. And today I want to help you navigate a trail that is just so much fun. It's awesome. The Beehive Trail in Acadia is a death-defying trail where you're actually hiking up the cliffs. You're using iron rungs or iron ladders that are bolted into the cliffs to get up to the top of the Beehive. So it makes for a very exciting adventure. However, I know there is a lot of trepidation kind of surrounding this trail. If it's a good trail for you to do, who should be on this trail, what it's like, and what to expect. So these 6 tips today will help you safely navigate the Beehive and feel a lot more confident while you're on the trail. So let's jump in. Tip number 1 is to check the weather before trying to hike the Beehive Trail. This is critical. This is very important. What happens is it gets pretty rainy in Acadia. You can have a lot of storms that come through, and you do not want to be on this trail if there are storms. If it is a wet surface, it's just really not safe. So when the rain falls, it lands on the granite, which can get very slippery in and of itself, just the granite and the trail surface. And then you add in the use of these iron rungs that also just get really slippery when they're wet. So both things are bad. You're not going to want to be up here if it's been raining or if there's a storm coming. You'll also want to watch the skies for thunder and lightning because you are working your way to the top of a mountain. So personally, if I'm going to Acadia and I know I want to hike the Beehive Trail, I want to do this Iron Rung Trail, then I'm going to check the weather forecast for the days that I'm there, and I'm going to put the Beehive Trail on the driest day of my trip. That's very important. That's almost the first thing I do when I am getting close to taking my trip, when I can see the weather forecast. Put this trail on the driest day. You will be happy you did that. You will not be sorry. It will make for better views usually as well, but also it will make for a safer experience on the Beehive. Tip number 2 is to skip the Beehive Trail if you're very scared of heights. The thing that makes the Beehive Trail so cool and so epic and so popular is that it really does test your limits. It takes you to the edge, literally. And so if you don't have a healthy fear of heights, you still might feel a little bit of nervousness going on this trail. If you are very scared of heights, if that's something that is known in your life, like you just do not do heights, then this trail is not for you. I would absolutely skip this trail because it can get pretty gnarly in some areas, especially as you're climbing up those cliffs and you're using the ladders to climb up the cliffs. There's even a part of the trail that there is no trail underneath. You're not stepping on rock. You're actually stepping on the iron rungs that are dug into the cliffside. So if you're scared of heights, the trail, the traditional route of going up to the top of the Beehive is not for you. I will also say that this trail is not for little kids. It's not good for young kids. You also can't bring pets on this trail. It's not safe. So keep that in mind as you're planning to do this. If I take my kids on this trail, which up to this point I haven't, but I am planning on doing so soon. They're finally at the age where I feel like they could safely do this. But if you have young kids and they're not used to hiking or they're not good at following directions, if they do not understand that a misstep on the Beehive Trail could be a matter of life and death, then do not take them on this trail. It's just not worth it. It's not safe under those circumstances. You really need to understand that you have to be in control. You need to be pretty sure-footed. You need to be pretty confident in your ability to handle those heights and the added pressure of being on the cliffs. Now, that being said, I would never dissuade someone from doing a hiking trail. I think hiking is such a good way to see the national parks. So if you decide not to hike up the Beehive in the traditional sense, there actually is a back way so that you can still get to the top of the Beehive and enjoy all of those beautiful views. The way that you can do that is instead of turning off, you'll start the trail, and it's called the Bowl Trail. You'll start this trail, and instead of turning off towards the Beehive, you'll just keep going on the Bowl Trail, and that will take you up to a little pond where you can then go around and go up the Beehive from the backside without having to use the iron rungs. It's a much safer route. It feels a little bit more like traditional hiking. And so that's a really good option if you're scared of heights, or if you're with little kids, or if you have a dog, if you want to go up that direction, that's a really good alternative. The second alternative is to hike the Gorham Mountain Trail, which is just down the road. The Gorham Mountain Trail actually does have a small section of iron rungs. You don't even have to go on that section, actually. It's just like a side trail that you can take off of the main trail that will take you through some iron rungs. And that's a really fun way and much safer. You're not on the cliffs. You're not really, it's not life or death. You're not going to fall hundreds of feet if you do that one. And so that's a really fun way. If you just want to get a taste of an iron rung trail in Acadia, then the Gorham Mountain Trail is actually a great one if you don't feel like you want to do the Beehive. Tip number 3, make sure your body is physically fit enough to hike this trail. Now, I know sometimes we don't like to admit where our shortcomings are or where we might fall short, but this is not the case. This is not a trail that you want to start if you're not in good physical shape, because you are using those iron rungs to climb up the cliffs. In some places, there aren't even iron rungs, and you're kind of scrambling a little bit to get up and over the rocks. So this is not the place to lie to yourself about your physical abilities. This really is a trail that you're going to need some arm strength. You're going to need some leg strength. You're going to need to be able to get yourself up to the top of the mountain safely. What's crazy about the Beehive Trail is it's actually quite short. It's a very short trail. It's only about 1.5 mile round trip, and you're gaining 500 feet of elevation in that time. In fact, make it half because you're hiking a loop. So in about 3/4 of a mile, you're going up 500 feet. So if you're used to hiking, that number is actually pretty crazy. That means that trail is extremely steep to be able to go up 500 feet in less than a mile. And so again, just make sure you're sure-footed. Make sure that you have the strength to pull yourself up those iron rungs, to do a little bit of light scrambling. It will just make for a better situation for not only yourself, but everybody else who is hiking it with you. Tip number 4 is to hike the Beehive Trail either early or late. This is critical. This is a rule that I've given myself. I typically do this in the national parks anyway, but especially for this trail, it makes a huge difference in just the overall enjoyment of getting up these iron rungs. So why is that? If you go early enough in the morning, you won't have a problem getting parking. You'll be able to get on the trail before there's a bunch of people. You'll be able to hike at your own pace, which for me is very important on this trail. And the same thing goes for later in the day. If you want to avoid that middle time of day, I highly recommend going late afternoon or during dinner time when a lot of people aren't in the park or they're already done for the day. That typically is a really nice time on this trail as well. This is important because you don't want the trail to be super busy. What happens is it gets bottlenecked on these iron rung sections. And so if there's a lot of people on the trail, not only will you have a hard time getting parking at Sand Beach, which is the parking lot that where the trail starts. Not only will you have a hard time with that, that's a big deal for me too, but what happens is you get on the Beehive Trail and you're hiking and you're going at a pretty good clip, you're excited, and then there's 100 people in front of you trying to get up the iron rungs, trying to take pictures of themselves on the iron rungs, trying to, talk themselves into continuing on through the iron rungs. And so what happens is it just really slows down. It gets super congested. You're standing around a lot. You're waiting, especially if you're a little bit nervous to be on this trail. You don't want to be standing on the cliff waiting for somebody to go in front of you for 15 minutes, that's just not fun for anybody. So for me, my rule when I hike the Beehive Trail or any of the other iron rung trails in Acadia is to go when most people aren't there, because again, you can take your time. You don't feel pressure of a whole bunch of people waiting for you to get past the iron rung section. You can take pictures as you wish. You can really soak in the experience and have just a lot more fun getting yourself to the top of the Beehive. Tip number 5, bring a map. I cannot stress this enough. Even if you're only in Acadia for a couple of days, if you plan on doing any hiking, you need a topographic map with you. You need to purchase an actual map. I will put my favorite one in the video description below if you want to check that out. But you need a map. If you don't purchase it before you go, be sure you stop in the visitor center and get one before you head out on the trail. Because what happens is Acadia is a pretty small national park. There's a lot of people in a very small space, and there actually are a lot of hiking trails in this park. There's a lot to do in this small space, but a lot of these trails intersect. They cross like crazy. And so what happens, even on a trail like the Beehive, which might seem pretty straightforward, you'll get there and you might not be able to navigate very well. Some of the signs are a little bit confusing. You'll get back in there and it's like, oh, there's this trail or this trail or this trail right here. Like, which one am I supposed to take? Because specifically for the Beehive, it's not really called the Beehive Trail. You're on the Bull Trail for a minute, you cut up to the Beehive, you go back down to the Bull Trail. There's other trails back there you can catch. So you're going to want to have a map just to make sure that you don't get lost while you're here. And tip number 6, which might just be the most important tip of all, is to not psych yourself out, okay? Get out of your head. If you're excited to do this trail, don't start thinking about all the dangers and everything that could go wrong and how nervous you are. It's easy to get inside of your head on these iron rung trails in Acadia, but hundreds of people hike this trail every day. A lot of these people probably shouldn't be on this trail, and yet they do okay. So just know that as long as you put in some preparation beforehand, you've watched this video, you know what to expect, you have the steps to take to make sure you have a fun and safe time, then just let it be and be excited about it. Don't get nervous. Don't overthink it. Don't worry about it. Just get ready for a giant adventure climbing up the cliffs in Acadia. It will push your comfort zone. It will just make you feel a little bit more alive. And it's one of those experiences that you'll never forget. So I highly, highly recommend you just enjoy it. Have a good time, do something different, experience a little bit of extra adventure while you're here, and just enjoy being out on this very quirky and unique trail in Acadia National Park. Now, this video only covered the tips for the Beehive Trail, but if you have any other questions about trip planning to Acadia, I have even more videos here on the Dirt in My Shoes YouTube channel. You can also go to dirtinmyshoes.com where I have tons of articles for you to sift through to help with the trip planning process. I even have an hour-by-hour itinerary that will walk you through how to beat the crowds, when to be where, which activities you don't want to miss, where to stay, all that good stuff you can find at dirtinmyshoes.com. Happy trails!